really great that, like you said, technology has helped us connect, across continents. And we're really very happy that, you could come, you could address us now, because very recently we have launched this um, Bhoomi Eco-village network. Uh, I think one of the things that's been special about you, as Rama said, is that right from the, one of our first major conference on food health and climate change, you came so generously. You agreed to come, although we didn't know you at all. And you launched our Bhoomi magazine, and I'm sure you were more enthusiastic about it than us. You told the whole audience to go out and buy, and I remember 100 or so people bought just because you told them to. And you have that kind of infectious energy, and that you brought to, subsequently to 2-3 conferences that you came to, and when you spoke to our students and so on. And I think it is just apt that you are also here when we are trying to launch this Bhoomi Eco-village network, which basically started with with some of the students, some of the fellows of the Bhoomi College have wanted to start something back home in their hometowns or villages or cities, rather than take up a job, which again I remember you kind of telling the audience, go create something, don't take up a job. So some are doing that actually. And we felt it would be good for this group, which hopefully will keep expanding, to create eco-villages wherever they are, to get local communities together, to work with the local economy, to work with local ecosystems, and so on. So localization is really, we do believe that, more and more that makes sense to most of the people who come to us. Yes, there may be some who are activists and some who are writers and whatever, various things they do. But to the large number of people, they want to work with the land, work with the people. And it made sense to have this Bhoomi Eco-village network. So we love it that you are here to talk to the group. Just a couple of things that I would like to say about Satish to most of you, most of the people here. I think I've heard about you or come to our conferences, but many might not have. And I think I'd like to tell them that Satish ji has been a person who's inspired and been a kind of a guiding light for many ecological projects and programs and even institutions around the world. I don't know where he gets the energy to travel so many places. And it's really amazing. With just one talk, many people get inspired to do something or the other. I've heard so many people who come to our conferences, heard him once, and they feel that in some way their life has changed. And I think that's something. He has a very special gift, a special way. And I think his strong, deep commitment and his earnestness when he talks leaves everybody so deeply touched. I just wanted to share this, how in the very first conference, you were talking about land and how we should respect earthworms. And somewhere you mentioned that, look, people have become, think mud is dirty and they use soap to clean the mud, whereas actually it is soap that is dirty because it's full of chemicals. And now, that's a kind of elegant simplicity of putting things which, which touch people, and people never forget those words sometimes. And I think I don't want to keep talking too much. I'd like to let people experience you through your own talks. So let me stop here. The only thing I would like to add is here that, I would like to just ask you a couple of questions if need be. And the first one is about, you have traveled all over, met some of really fantastic people who have done great work with sustainability or with ecological work. I mean, all kinds of things all over the world. And also with many who are talking about localization. And one thing is for you, although our group is also largely convinced of its importance, but yet we see the world is largely, still enchanted with the globalized economy that we have. And what is the way I would say you would suggest to us to focus on the importance of localization? How would you, in what ways, would you say that localization is really important for us to focus on?
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for your good question. And thank you for your warm welcome and warm introduction. It's a very generous and very kind words. I don't know if I deserve all such praise, but I am delighted. And it's my great pleasure to be part of Bhoomi College. And I want to see many, many Bhoomi colleges around whole of country, India, and many, many Bhoomi colleges around the world, because we need new models, new examples, such as Bhoomi College, to create a new world view, new world future, and new way of life. And in that new way of life, localization is one of the most important things to think about it. Globalization deprives people from being in control of their lives. This is the most fundamental principle, that if we want to be in charge of our lives, and we should be in control of our lives, our work, our lives, our place, we should be there. And in globalization, we lose the control and we leave the control to somebody far distant. We don't know who is organizing, who is managing. And so when you are local work, you are in charge of your economy, you are in charge of your culture, you are in connection and connected with your local community, and we are in a relationship with your neighbors, and you can share and who is making what is made, and where things are coming from. All these things are in the knowledge. So this is why I want localization to be spread. And when you import things from far away, first of all, you need lots of fossil fuel, because transportation means ships, aeroplanes, trains, buses, roads. You have to build this huge infrastructure around the world. Like China is now building this belt and kind of whatever the movement is. They are building roads and motorways and highways and ports and airports. All this infrastructure you have to build for globalization. And that infrastructure requires so many resources. So there's a lot of resources being taken from nature, mining from nature, and to build this unnecessary infrastructure. But if you're a local economy, you don't have so many, so you don't need so many airports and seaports and motorways and highways and trains and all the things that we need transportation. So transportation is increased and increased and increased, taking so many resources of nature. And then when you are exporting, importing, you are not only importing food, we are also importing with it like coronavirus. You are exporting and importing something other than goods and services. So I would say that coronavirus is a result of globalization and a consequence of globalization. So if you want to have a more healthy society, then localization is the answer. So of course, our mind should be global, think globally. Our heart should be global, even universal. We are not narrow-minded. The localists are not narrow-minded. For us, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole planet is our home. Our whole cosmos is our country. And nature is our religion. And as Upanishad says, Isha Vashyamidam Sarvam, everything we see is a kind of sacred and divine. So localization, Mahatma Gandhi promoted localization. He was not a narrow-minded person. He had a universal mind, global heart, and a very big consciousness. But our mind can be global and universal, but our legs and our feet should be grounded in the community where we live. That is the lesson from nature. Nature is local. Nature is decentralized. There is no central global organization. Forests don't have presidents and prime ministers. They don't have this chaos which is going on at the moment in the United States between Trump and Biden. But there is no such need when you have a local panchayat and local government. You can sit together and sort things out very quickly. And so even huge nations like America or even India and China is a too much centralization. So localism is even not only not importing things from China or Bangladesh or Vietnam or America or Europe or Africa. Even within India, we should be more local. We don't need to depend on Mumbai or Kolkata or Mangaluru or Chennai for our goods and services. Every village should be, as Mahatma Gandhi called it, a republic. And so self-reliance, standing on our own feet. And also when you are working, you are making something, then you are a maker and not simply a consumer. Globalization turns human beings into consumers. Localization transforms human beings into creators and makers. We are not simply consumers. As human beings, we are makers and creators. We have imagination. We have energy. We have been given two hands to make something, to build a house, to weave the clothes, to make the shoes, to make the furniture. We have two hands, and our two hands are now being made redundant and idle. Most of the globalized countries use their hands just to use their iPhone or iPad or computer, just 2, 3, 4 fingers. And the rest of the skills are lost. We don't encourage and teach our children any skills of making. So we have become just consumers, and consumption and production has become the end goal. And nature has become simply a resource for the economy. And human beings have also become only a resource for profit and economic growth and money making and production and consumption. So humans have become a means to an end. Humans have become an instrument of making big profit and globalization. And nature has become a resource for the economy. So money and profit, production and consumption, they have become the end goal. This is the great disaster in my view, because human beings are not just means to an end of making production and consumption and economic growth. And nature is also not means to an end of making production, consumption, and economic growth. Human beings and nature are sacred, and they are the end goal. And production and consumption and economic growth and money should be means to the end, means to an end. And the end should be well-being of humans, well-being of local communities, well-being of nature, well-being of our planet Earth, well-being of land, well-being of forest, well-being of animals, living life, well-being of life. So this confusion of means and ends is the greatest confusion of our time. We have to change that, and human beings and nature should be the end, and money and profit and economy and production and consumption should be the means to satisfy the needs of humans and needs of nature and needs of animals and needs of forests and the land. So this is the most important point I would like to make. What is production consumption for? At the moment, production consumption is for economic growth, profit, and making money. And human beings are means to an end, and nature means to an end. Humans are like human resources. We call them human resources. And nature becomes a natural resources. Humans are not a resource. Nature is not a resource. Nature is a source of life. Nature is a life itself. How this, all the educated people from big universities in Europe, in England, where I live, Oxford and Cambridge, and big universities in America, Yale and Harvard and so on, and in India, all the big universities, they are brainwashing and conditioning our young people to think about just their personal success in terms of money and profit and so on, and not think about their place in nature and their place in human community. So localization, in a way, is a very radical and very revolutionary idea. And this will change the whole educational system. And our educational will not be only kind of head-oriented. It will be a whole person-oriented. At the moment, if you go to university and a school, teachers think that children and students have no body. They have only brain. And so, so they only teach what is good for the brain. And
Satish, your mic seems to be muted. Just now it happened.
Just now it happened. Okay.
Just a few seconds ago. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Can we
so anyway, I've said, maybe you can ask one or two more questions.
Yeah.
What I've said is, most important point I'm making is the localization brings back the true status of humans and true status of nature as the most sacred and most important, and puts money, production, consumption, profit, economic growth, all that at a second level. This is the most important point of local economy. And globalization and industrialization and mechanization and consumerism, all that is putting humans low and nature low. This is the point I want to make, but you can ask more questions. Sita.
Yeah.
Sita, 1 minute.
Can we request everybody to mute their mics, please? Everybody else other than Satish? Yeah, because in between some voices came up. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Satish, another thing that I would like you to focus on is that basically two things. I'll ask them together. One is about around the world, you have, as I said, as we all know, connected with so many people doing a whole lot of work for this cause of, living with ecological wisdom on earth. Can you just share a bit of, this kind of movement towards localization? Because I think in India, there isn't so much information coming in from all over the world. Those who are interested have to go in search of it. But actually, there are many things happening in different parts of the world. So you must have heard of some of these movements which are...
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the most important movement which is around the world is called Transition Town. It started actually where Schumacher College is, Totnes. And there is a very good friend of mine called Rob Hopkins. He was the kind of founder and initiator, but then many people joined in Totnes, and the first was the Totnes town, with a transition town. And then that spread. And now there are more than 300 towns in Britain who have joined this transition town movement. And then that movement now has become international. And that international movement in Japan, in France, in Germany, in the United States, in many, many countries, people are taking responsibility to transform their town from this fossil fuel-based economy to a more local energy economy, renewable energy economy. So these people are establishing community-owned energy systems, wind power, not owned by big companies, but small local community-owned renewable energy systems. And so windmills, water power, all that. And so that's one very important part of transition town movement. The second part there is that food should be more local. Transition town creates gardens and encourage people to garden. And if you cannot garden, they encourage people, young people, to go and garden for older people if they are not able to garden physically, or they don't have time to garden. Then young people who have time will go and garden. So if I have a garden but I can't garden, so young people will come from transition town movement and they garden for me, and then we will share the vegetables, say half and half. So my garden and you are doing your work, so we'll share half and half. So you can take vegetables, fruit, apples, pears, flowers, anything you can take. So this way, making food local is a kind of important campaign of the transition town movement. And so, and the movement for permaculture is spreading around the world. In France, Germany, Holland, Scandinavian countries, America, all the countries are embracing the idea of permaculture. And so many people are doing that. The other point is allotment movement. In England, since the Second World War, there was a law that any citizen who wants to have allotment, a piece of land, it is the legal responsibility of the government to give them a piece of land so that they can grow their own food. Dig for the big tree, that was the movement. And that is still legal. And so many people are now asking for allotment, and then they are, in those allotments, they are growing their own food. So there are big allotment movement in Britain. And then with this permaculture and allotment movement is also agroecology. So the idea is that our food production should be regenerative rather than just thinking that soil is dead soil and there's nothing, you have to put chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides and herbicide. All that idea is changing. And now people are creating agroecology in order to create a regenerative so that soil is built and more compost and more soil, so that soil is healthy and strong and regenerative. And so this is a big movement of regenerative agriculture and agroecology together with permaculture and organic farming and with transition town movement. That is a big movement.
Okay. You know, in India, the situation seems to be quite different from some of the European countries. Like, for instance, as you're talking about, allotment of land seems possible. In India, with our population, you know, such things governments can't even comprehend, you know, the huge numbers of people who will be there to fight for anything that's available. But there are many other things too that I think that we need to do. We may need to do it differently, but we need to work towards localization all the same. And one of the things is about, you know, our local heritage, local customs, local beliefs about, you know, animals, birds, lakes, a lot of this, mobilizing this, this feeling for the Indian heritage or learning is important. But however, our education system almost gives no importance to that.
Yes. But I think in India, you can create a movement that every school should have a garden. Every college should have a piece of land. Every university should have a farm attached to it, so that the young people in schools and colleges and universities learn to do something with their hand. The education of head, education of hands, and education of hearts. It should be the important point. And as you say that India is a very big country, 1 billion people, but let's not think about India as one big country. Let's think about each district. and each state, they should take responsibility to provide land and allotments and a piece of land if people want to buy or have allotment, so that people can grow their own food. Food is the most important. And if we have to import food from far away, with the food, you may be importing some disease and some coronavirus. So this gives us the opportunity to raise the voice that this kind of coronavirus type of disease gives us a kind of challenge that in the future we should safeguard our food and our health. And the one thing is, if you're local food, then you know, you are accustomed to it. You are accustomed to local culture, local climate, local conditions, and local soil. And so you are acclimatized. So if you are importing food, mass-produced food, soya beans and wheat and rice from far, far away, like China or Vietnam or somewhere, so each state is like a country. Like England is 60 million people. And if we can have allotment for everybody legally, why not Karnataka? I don't know how many million people are in Karnataka, maybe 60, 100 million people. And so that should be possible. Then in the same way, Kerala is it's a state, it's a country itself. So India should be seen as a 20, 30, 40 countries. And each state and each even district should take responsibility to provide a piece of land, because if we are connected with the land and the food, and not only land, but also making things with our own hands, work and making things with our own hand is not only good for our useful things to make, but also good for our mind, our mental health, and our spiritual health. Making something with your own hands gives you a satisfaction, a contentment, a feeling that I have made it. I have 2 acres here in Heartland, and I grow my own apples. I've got 15 apple trees, and I've made 200 bottles of apple juice, and I feel good. That apple juice is like a nectar. I can never find this kind of quality and taste of apple juice, which I am finding from my own trees. I make 200 bottles of apple juice, and I have a garden. So I grow asparagus and raspberries and strawberries and carrots and beans and peas and sweet corns and everything. And when I cook my lunch, my wife June and I, we cook our lunch. We go in the garden and I can write books. I can give lectures. I can do everything, but that's not enough, just head. When I go into my garden, my health is good. My mind is good. You say that I'm 84 and I have energy. Why I have energy? Because I'm gardening and I'm cooking and I'm growing food. I'm not just lecturing and writing books, but I'm also doing something with my hands, making apple juice. So I think it should be every citizen's birthright to have a piece of land. This is why Vinoba Bhave created a Bhudan movement. So everybody must have a land so that they can grow there some vegetables, and some people can have a farm, but everybody should have a small garden. This should be part of our localization movement.
Thank you, Satish. I hope many of us in this group, at least we get more inspired to actually grow or some food.
Yes, I mean, at Schumacher College, we have 10 acres of land, and we are growing 60-70% of our vegetables are all grown from our Schumacher College garden. And we are teaching young people. Every year, we have 15 students who are there for 6 months from April to September. And they're only learning about how to garden, permaculture, agroecology, regenerative gardening, all those things of transition town. We are practicing at Schumacher College. So every college, every university, every school, children must learn. I started a small school in my village, Heartland. And we said, every child must learn to grow food. When you plant one seed in the ground, like a tomato seed, so small, but that small seed has a big plant in it. And that plant grows with 10 feet high. And that grows 50 or 60 tomatoes in it, and they grow from flower to green, from small to large, and from green to yellow, from yellow to red, and red, sweet, delicious, fragrant tomatoes. Children see this miracle of nature. If you can't learn that by reading a book or by seeing a picture, even though David Attenborough's films in England are very famous. But I say that's only a second-hand knowledge of nature. The first-hand knowledge of nature, when students see the miracle of nature, miracle of life, that how one seed can create a whole apple tree, one seed can create a whole mango tree, and those one seed can create a whole orchard. One seed can create a whole orchard. That is the power of nature. That will never be learned by books or by television or by screen or computers. Children have to experience it. So our education has to be changed. So why I congratulate you for creating Bhoomi College. So that's where people can learn about nature and be in nature and be part of nature. That's a real lesson of localization.
Yeah, Satish, that's great because in a way here too at Bhoomi College, we grow a lot of our food, but maybe not every single thing, but we grow some of them nearby in our, in a farm where our students go also nearby. So
but farmers should be respected. At the moment you think that if you are living in Bombay and work in an office, or live in Mangaluru and work in an office, you are more clever and more intelligent and more advanced and more progressive. If you are working on the land, if you are a farmer, you are a peasant, you are a land worker, then you are backward, you are uneducated, you have no value, you are not clever. This kind of mentality is keeping our country backwards. Farmers, workers, land laborers working on the land, they should be respected. There's a dignity in farming and growing food. There's dignity in building houses. There's dignity in making clothes and shoes. That dignity of work should be restored and not be seen that if you are working on a farm, you are backward peasant, uneducated, undeveloped, and development means high-rise buildings and working in the offices. That's the kind of confusion that we have today. And we have to challenge that confusion and say, no, farmers are more important than bankers. Bankers should be paid less than farmers. Why bankers should be paid more and farmers less? Is counting money is more important than growing food? Without food, we cannot exist. But without money, without banks, we can exist. So this bankers should be paid less than farmers. Farmers should be paid more, respected more, and cherished more, and celebrated more.
Wonderful to hear that. And you have given me a lead to one last question before we open out, questions from the others,
Yes.
which is just this, exactly what you said, the very notion, we have been brainwashed with a certain notion of success, So one thing I'd like to ask you is, there are many people who want to start, the Bhoomi Eco-village, but there are many who are left in doubt as to whether they will succeed. What is the meaning of success? And that is, whether we are caught up with the size, bigness, or how many will follow or what. There are some doubts and anxieties which some have. Many have also started some work on their own, independent of our Bhoomi, our network. And some are joining in, and some are in the process of learning what to do. So what would you tell the people who are struggling
I
with
will,
something?
I will tell the young people who are seeking success very clearly, seek not success. Seek fulfillment, seek joy, ananda, bliss, not success. Success is illusory. Success is measured by somebody outside. Fulfillment and joy and ananda is from your own heart. And success is not at the end of your work. Success is in the process, or actually fulfillment, not success, but fulfillment in the process of going in the village, settling in the village, starting a piece of land, sowing the seeds. That is fulfillment. The process, not the product, not the end result. What is the result of your work? We don't know. But we know that I can go in the village, I can plant the seed, I can plant a tree, I can build a little house, I can teach some children, and in that process of working, I should take pleasure. And when for example, a singer sings and takes pleasure in the singing, not after singing, what is my success? my praise or review in Deccan Herald or some other, even Bhoomi magazine. That's not the success. Success or joy is in the singing. Dance is not a success, how famous you are, however famous you may or may not be, but the success of dance is in fulfillment of joy of dancing. So gardening is like dancing and singing, working on the land and working on the craft and teaching. I'm speaking to you now. What is my end result? I don't care. My joy is to speak to you now in this moment. So every moment is a moment of joy and bliss and pleasure. So seek fulfillment. Seek not success. Success is illusory. Success is a burden. Don't be successful. Be joyful. This is my request to those people who are looking success. Not successful, but joyful. Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda. Ananda is our aim, not success.
Yes, Satish, really lovely to listen to you again. I think now, I mean, as usual, like, this is Satish Ji's speciality, that you put everything in such beautiful, simple way that anybody can connect to. And I think, however, now we should offer the time to others who have come in to ask some questions. So I'll leave it to Rama, my colleague, to take it forward. I don't know your method of getting the questions asked, Rama. Can you go ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Sita, thank you. So we'll throw open the webinar to people who wish to ask questions. Like we mentioned before, we would give the first opportunity to Bhoomi alumni and people who are part of the Bhoomi Eco-village, since they are getting the opportunity of interacting with Satish for the first time. So those of you who wish to, you could just unmute yourself, and also, your video, if you can turn it on, so that we see who is asking the question, and then Satish ji will respond. Some others have also put their questions. I think we'll have enough time. We will take them as well, but we'd like to give the first opportunity to Bhoomi alumni.
May I ask, Madhuri here?
Yeah.
Namaskar, everyone. The fundamental challenge when you just mentioned, Satish ji, that success is being joyful. I can completely relate to it. But the primary challenge is how do I've asked this in Bhoomi also many a times. How do we really take along the family in this journey, where the success is seen as what you just mentioned, working in the offices or buying a home or a car or a status in the society. All of this is considered as success. Bhoomi has definitely changed the way we look at the world and the way we actually live life. So when such change happens, and when you feel the beauty inside, but it's a little challenging also to take your family along with you in the journey, and also about when you interact with people outside as well, you at times feel a little what to say, hurt maybe at times, when people say, what, this is not going to work, kind of an expression, or probably they look at you as anti-social. These are maybe surface level challenges, but my primary thing is actually to take the family along. So we have been diverting in our family, to put it simple, to buy a farmland instead of spending whatever this inflation is charging in cities, to buy a farmland. And this conversation has been going on for last 2 years, and I've not moved a bit. So that's my primary question.
Yes. The thing is that when you talk to family, you have to ask them, if you look at the history of the world, Buddha did not have a private home to be successful. Buddha had a palace, and he left the palace to be successful or joyful. And we remember after 2,500 years later, Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, Mother Teresa, all these people, how did they live? So people who are living with values, with ideals, with integrity, with beauty, with celebration, music, Kalidas, remember Kalidas, all the great people in the history, Tagore, and many, many other saints in Karnataka and in South India and all over India, Mirabai. So we have to have those ideals in our front. I mean, you can have a house, you can have a car. There are many people, you die and nobody remembers you. But you leave a legacy for the world if you leave beautiful music, beautiful art, beautiful culture, beautiful philosophy, a beautiful book, a beautiful farm. That's your legacy. That will be remembered forever. So talk to your family and say, look at the history. Who remembers millionaires who were successful in their having cars and big houses and palaces? Who remembers the kings and queens that have come and gone and died? They left their palaces, and the palaces are in the ruins, and there are only museums now. So what's the point of building palaces and having homes and having cars and having all those things? What is the real thing in life? That's the real thing is music, dance, food, art, craft, philosophy, religion, spirituality, good thinking. These are the things which will make you happy. And don't envy the people who have cars and computers and jobs and offices and money. I want to follow the examples of people who have inspired the world. Lao Tzu in China, Tao Te Ching, his books are read more than any other book in China. So you can see the examples all over the world. Who remembers anybody else but Rumi? The Rumi and Hafiz and Kabir. These are the names I know, but you can translate these names into your own culture, your own language. Who are these people? Kabir did not have a car or a PhD after his name. And Mirabai did not have a PhD after her name. She was a princess. But she left her palace and went to Vrindavan and singing and writing songs. We remember the songs of Mirabai, and there were many, many other women who were queens and successful palaces. Nobody remembers them. So leave the legacy for the world of some beauty and integrity and spirituality and arts and crafts and something beautiful rather than just having a house. So what? Millions of people have a house. You have a house. So what? Having a house or not having a house is neither here nor there. What you have is creativity, imagination. This is your gift. Use your imagination, creativity, and houses will follow you. You don't have to follow house. Cars will come and follow you. You don't have to follow the cars. You are greater than your house and your car and your job and your money. You have a divine spirit within you. And rise for that higher challenge of your life rather than these minor things of having a car, having a job, having some money in the bank. All these are something means to an end. Okay, they are useful, but we don't get stuck with them. They are useful, use them. I'm not against money. I'm not against house. I'm not against anything. But they are not the life you want to live. They are not the aim of your life. They are means to an end. The end is something higher. Aim for that. And even if your parents and family do not agree with you, have courage to stand up and say, Mommy, Daddy, you go and have a car and a house. I'm going to dance and sing and write books and teach and be spiritual and be imaginative and be creative and be poetic and grow food and be happy. And I don't want your car and your house. Keep it yourself.
Thank you. You almost took me to tears. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish ji. Srushti, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, sure. Hi, namaskara, everyone. I actually have two very different questions. So I'll start with the one that I had put in the chat, which was with this Eco-village movement. A lot of us who are attending this webinar are actually aspiring to co-create spaces where localization is experimented with. So I just wanted to ask you, in your experience, what are the sort of pitfalls that we need to become aware of when we create such spaces? And my other question was that in today's world, I kind of see how we value nature, and it bothers me. So I feel like today a lot of value that we put upon nature has to be justified by the amount of carbon sequestered or the kind of capital that the nature holds. And I was just wondering if there are ways to get people and ourselves also to value nature because it has inherent value, simply because
Yeah.
it is a tree, not because the tree harvests this much carbon, or
Yes, yes, absolutely. Now, two very good questions. Thank you. The first is, what are the pitfalls? The eco village is not an ego village. And the pitfall is that we become too egotistical and we start to argue with each other, and we start to fall out with each other. So villages sometimes fall apart because of the egotistical personalities. And so when you start an eco village, use the mantra of Kenopanishad. Sahana vavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahaviryam karvavahe. That's the mantra. I can tell the whole mantra, but briefly, the mantra is that let us act together, let's co-create together, let's walk together, and ma vidvishavahe, let's not quarrel and argue together, because in eco villages people end up in arguments, and my way is right and your way is wrong, and follow me. Let us work together. This sahana, co-creation, is the answer to all the pitfalls that you get in eco villages. So eco village is not an ego village, it's an eco village. Eco means home. The word eco comes from Greek oikos, which means home. So ecology is knowledge of home, and economy is management of home. And in the idea of the Greek philosophers, home is your planet Earth, like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole planet Earth is our home. So we take care of Earth home, we take care of our national home, we take care of our Karnataka home, and then we create an eco village, our village home. So village is your home, and live in that eco village like you live in a family with brothers and sisters and friends and neighbors and guests and all that. So the pitfalls of eco village is ego. So do not allow your eco village to become ego village and quarrel and fall out. Give support to each other, love each other, and do not get involved in too many opinions. It's the working together, gardening together, cooking together. This is what Schumacher College is, an eco village. And we have been there for 30 years and it's still thriving and flourishing because we work together, we grow together, we garden together, we cook together, we go for walking together on Dartmoor in nature. So that is the biggest obstacle I have found in many eco villages, that they fall apart because they become egotistical. Second question is value of nature. That is a deep ecology, pure deep ecology. Nature is not there just to serve human beings, and human beings are not superior to nature. Human beings are not separate from nature. The idea that nature is out there, the mountains, the forests, the rivers, the animals, the birds, the insects, the earthworms are nature, and humans are not nature. Humans are separate from nature, and humans are above nature. And we can control nature, we can exploit nature, we can conquer nature. All these ideas are the old school capitalist and a kind of reductionist scientific thinking. The new thinking, the new story is that humans are as much nature as mountains and forests and animals and birds and rivers and grass and insects, everything. So nature, everything is nature. Humans are also nature. And so intrinsic value of nature, the inherent value of nature and inherent value of humans, the same. So humans and nature are not separate. We are one. We are made of the same elements: earth, air, fire, water, space, time, and consciousness. These are the 7 elements. And so animals are also made of earth, air, fire, water, time, space, consciousness, and everything is made of same one elements. And nature is alive. Earth is alive. It's a living organism. Earth is not a dead rock that we live on it. The old science tells you that Earth is a dead rock, and the rocks have no life. The mountains have no life. Everything is living. And so Earth is a living organism. That's a deep ecology. That's a Gaia theory. That's a new story. That's a new thinking, advanced thinking. The old science is deprived of this idea of intrinsic value of nature. The new science of Gaia and deep ecology and systemic thinking tells you that we are all a web of life, interconnected, interrelated, all one, unity of life. Web of life is one, and then unity of life manifests in diversity of life. So we have trillions and trillions of forms of life. But in the beginning, Big Bang, there was no mountains and no forests, no animals and no humans and no Indians and no Pakistanis and no Chinese and no Christians and no Buddhists and no Muslims and no Hindus. They were all just Big Bang origin. So we share all one single origin of Big Bang. And then over billions of years, we have evolved in diversity of life. So let's celebrate the diversity, but let's not get stuck into this division. When we transfer diversity into division, we come into conflict. Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Indians, Pakistanis, this, that, etc., etc. So diversity should be celebrated and not turn into division. That is the way to respect nature and celebrate nature and say the humans are also nature and humans are one, and we celebrate the unity of life and dignity of life.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
So I hope, Srushti, your question was answered.
Yeah.
We'll go next to Anisha. Would you like to ask your question?
Hello, namaskar everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It was lovely listening to you and lovely seeing all the familiar faces from Bhoomi. I have been, as I mentioned in the chat, I am a playback theatre artist, and I find it quite challenging between the reality and the reality of the cost of things, the reality of organic food, and the reality of committing oneself to the arts, and the challenges of pursuing what we really believe in. So I wanted, and also the whole idea of race and gender and caste, which is often not spoken about when we are talking about land and when we're talking about agriculture. So if you have any insights from, like, I'm sure in the UK, race would be an issue, like in India, caste is.
Yes.
So if you have any insights, if there are things that we should read to recognize and speak about these social realities which have led for so many people to not be able to access this life.
Yes, yes.
And if we are talking about a vision of taking everyone along, what are those things that we need to think about when we are visualizing an eco-village to make that happen?
So when I spoke about the diversity of life and diversity of cultures, then whatever your race, whatever is your gender, whatever is your nationality, this is a diversity of life. It would be boring if 7 billion people upon this earth were all Hindus, or all Vaishnavites, or all Shaivites, or all Christians, followers of Jesus, or all Catholics, or all Sunnis or Shias. That'll be boring. So diversity, race, gender, nationality, religion, languages, all these things have flourished because of the diversity. So we need to celebrate diversity. It's good, it's wonderful to have blacks and whites and yellow and red and also hair color in different way. And it's wonderful to have a Tamils and Telugu and Karnataka and Urdu and Sanskrit and Hindi and Bengali. And it's wonderful to have Shias and Sunnis and Hindus and Muslims and Shaivite. All the diversity, celebrate. Don't say one is better than the other. celebrate. That's my answer. So whatever your ultimate caste is cosmos. Your country is cosmos. We are all one. There is no caste in reality. It's only a mental construct. Our conditioning of mind, we have been conditioned to think that Brahmin is higher than Dalit, or Kshatriya is higher than Vaishyas. All that is only a kind of social construct. And so we can rise above, transcend above that, and say, when I went around the world, I went not as an Indian. If I went as an Indian, I meet Pakistani. I meet a Russian or American. I did not go as a Hindu. If I go as a Hindu, I meet a Muslim or a Christian or a Buddhist. But if I go as an Indian, as a human being, first and foremost, then I meet human beings everywhere. So idea that this label I put on myself, I'm an Indian, I'm a vegetarian, I'm a Gandhian, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, all the labels. Let's rise above these labels and go to the real reality. So this identity politics, we have to go beyond identity politics and the politics of humanity. We have to go to the humanity politics and not identity politics. This is the challenge of our time. So in England and in America, the Black Lives Matter, the very wonderful movement, they are saying the same thing. That doesn't matter what life you have, all life matter. Black lives also matter. Why black should be sort of killed in the way the Floyd killed in America. So this is a kind of the consciousness that we have to create. And this is not one day work. We have to commit to create this kind of consciousness for whole of our life. This is not, I became an activist at age 18 when I left my monk life, Jain monk life, and joined Vinoba Bhave and the Bhudan movement. So I became an activist at the age of 18, and now I'm 84, and I'm still an activist, and I'll remain an activist until the last breath of my life. So it's a lifelong commitment. So where you have to now work for this equality, the understanding. Don't think that just because we think about this universal values, everybody will accept it tomorrow. We have to work and work and work. Even at the time of the Buddha, he started many, many good things, but we are not all Buddhists. Even Jesus Christ did not make the whole earth an earth of love and compassion. Even Mahatma Gandhi did not succeed in making India a Swaraj, Swadeshi, local economy, and all the non-violence, everything. So these are lifelong commitments, and we have to work and work and work. But if Mahatma Gandhi, Jesus Christ, Mother Teresa, Mirabai, all the great women and men in the world did not exist, the world will be a poor place. So your work, you are young and you are energetic, your work is to be one of those radical activists and radical revolutionaries, to work and work and work through whole of your life for the betterment of the world. And what happens to the world in the end, we cannot control. It's not in our hands, but we can act, we can speak, we can write, we can dance, we can sing, we can grow food, we can do what we like, and we enjoy doing that. So activism is a journey, not a destination. Activism is a process, not a product. Activism is an everyday activity. Like you bathe every day, you eat every day, you clean your teeth every day, you act every day for the betterment of the world. What happens tomorrow, we cannot control, but we can act today.
So beautifully said. Satishji, you make it sound so simple, and you know, it inspires, I think, all of us to just go and act. I'll move on to Teshwini. Will you ask your question now?
Yeah. Namaskara everyone. It's so nice hearing Satishji today and with all the familiar faces from Bhoomi. So,
Thank you.
My question is that I really like the idea of what you said, that you need to seek fulfillment and not success. And one thing that stuck my mind is we realize that there's this fulfillment and joy in growing our own food. But what I have seen is that most of the farmers don't share the same idea. So they are also somewhere caught in the paradigm of economic growth. So in this situation, how do you address that change in perspective?
Yeah, I would say that is not the fault of the farmers. That is the fault of the advanced, so-called developed, educated society. We have devalued the work of farmers. And we think that if you are a farmer, then you can't be very intelligent, you can't be very clever, you can't be very educated, and therefore you are a farmer. So it is not the farmer's fault, it's our responsibility. So we need to change the middle classes, the educated classes, the urbanized classes, living in Bengaluru, living in Chennai, living in Mumbai, all these people who are in the university and so on. We have to change our consciousness, our thinking, and pay better farmers, respect them more, give them more dignity, give them more honor, and celebrate them and say, without you, we will go hungry. Thank you, farmers. How wonderful you are that you are producing such good food. How can I support you? How can we help you? You are charging only 100 rupees for this so much beautiful basket of vegetables. It's too little. I want to give you more. Why are you undercharging yourself? We have to change. Farmers are not at fault. The middle classes, the upper classes, the urbanized, educated classes, we have to transform our thinking. We have to change, and we have to give more respect, more dignity, and more understanding for the farmers. Then farmers will realize that, yes, my work is good. I will remain a farmer. If I get good livelihood, if I get good money, I can build my house, I can be healthy and happy as a farmer, they will enjoy it. But it is our responsibility to change our thinking. The urbanized, educated, middle class, upper class people, we are to blame.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Supriya, please. Supriya, would you like to go next and ask your question?
Yeah, sure, Amma. Thank you. Namaskara, Satish ji. So my question is related to perception and collective perception. So what we normally hear is that, whatever is the collective perception at that point, that itself is reality. But sometimes actual principles of nature may not be what is perceived by the collective at that point in time. So how do we build in that awareness of, the slow process of life, and, not to assume that the reactions or responses that we get immediately in that immediate surrounding at that point is not necessarily tied to so-called reality as such?
Yeah. So there are many, many different kinds of perceptions. And some perceptions are open and some perceptions are closed. And many perceptions of kind that we are talking about, they are closed. And so we have to open these doors of perception, and we have to reconnect with new way of thinking, new way of ideas. And this is a slow process, as you said, slow life. And slow is beautiful. Small is beautiful and slow is beautiful. The speed and something should be done quickly is a more mechanized thinking. Machine wants to produce things quickly. But human hands and human mind, if you want to write a poetry, a piece of poetry, you cannot do it quickly. If you want to write a book, a novel, to write a beautiful novel, it takes you 2 years to write a novel. And if you want to weave a beautiful tapestry or a beautiful painting, it needs a lot of time. Picasso took a lot of time to paint Guernica, great painting, which is now at the United Nations and now back in Spain. And that through one painting, he opened the doors of perception and made people realize that war is hell. And that hell was in that Guernica painting. So that's the way how you open the doors of perception. And you make people realize, those who were thinking the war is a good thing, and we are victorious, and we sort of go do parade with the war and say we are a great nation. But look at Guernica. And look at so this is the way you open the doors of perception. So it's everybody's responsibility, you and I and all of you who are listening to me. We all need to contribute in opening the doors of perception. And what are those doors? There's no one door. There are many doors, but we have to open them, and we have to open our minds. At the moment, our minds are open only for 10 or 5 or 10 or 20%. 80% of our mind and faculties and our imagination and our possibilities and our potential is untapped. Human potential is untapped. The doors of perception are closed and human potential untapped. So we need to say that every human being is a special kind of artist. This is Kumara Swami, who was a great art historian, Sri Lankan, but then went to Boston in America. And he said, an artist is not a special kind of person, but every person is a special kind of artist. And so that is the doors of perception. The moment we realize that I'm not only a consumer, I'm not only an office clerk, I'm not only a taxi driver, I'm not only a train or bus driver, I am an artist. Every human being is an artist. The moment we live like an artist, our doors of perception will open much wider and much more frequently. And so let us think that every one of us are an artist. We are spiritual beings. We are special beings. That is the way to open the doors of perception.
Thank you so much, Satish ji. That was really enriching.
Do some more of the alumni have questions to ask? Otherwise, we'll open it out to others.
If we can have 5 more minutes, then I think we need to finish, because I need to have other things lined up. Yeah.
Okay. Shall we then ask if anybody else in the audience has a question to ask? Is someone wanting to ask a question to Satish ji?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Namaskar. I'm Santosh Lalwani, sir. Very fascinating talk. It was absolutely great. I just wanted to ask, with this concept of Bhoomi Eco-village,
Yes.
can we balance it with kind of a concept of green rural ecological economic zones at a block level or at a taluka level, you can say, where we balance the ecological aspects along with a little bit of the economic aspects with the ecopreneurship kind of a activity, where there is a triple bottom line kind of a theory which can be applied for the entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Now, eco-village is a kind of basic unit of life. A village means a small community of people where they know each other, they can help each other, they can support each other. So that's a kind of basic unit of life. So we create eco-village. But then we move forward and we say eco-town, transition town is an eco-town. So you can have a transition town as an eco-town. Then you can also have an eco-district. So eco-district will be a very good thing. So you move from eco-village to eco-town, to eco-district, to eco-taluka, even state. Whole of Karnataka should be eco-state. And so when you say in Karnataka, all farming will be organic, that's a step towards eco state. Then you say all our energy will come from sun energy, solar power, wind power, water power, but we will have no coal power and no fossil fuel power, petroleum power. That is the eco state. And so there's no limit. Eco village is not limiting that you cannot have eco town or eco city or eco state. And then if whole of India said that we do not want to have any inorganic farming, all farming will be local, small scale, craft, art, all that, then it can be a whole country, eco India. But that's a big vision, that's a big dream. Where do you start? You start from where you are, and you are in a community, you are in a neighborhood, you are in a village. Start there, because you can communicate with each other. 1 billion people in India, how do you communicate with everybody? Of course, you can write an article in Times of India or Hindu or Deccan Herald or something like that. You can communicate those ideas, but you can act locally. So start with Eco Village, but then hope that Eco Village will be transformed into Eco Taluka and Eco District and Eco State and Eco Country. And then we want to see whole world, Eco World. There should be no fossil fuel. There should be no coal energy. There should be no inorganic farming. There should be no waste. There should be no pollution. All our oceans should be clean without plastic. And all our rainforests should be protected and should not be destroyed. That be Eco World. So our vision is Eco World, but we start with Eco Village.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. That's great.
So anybody else wishes to ask?
Rama, just this is
last question.
Yeah.
Can we have last question?
One last question is coming, and then because he wants to, if we want, we can keep it open with everybody.
Yes, go ahead.
It's Namaskar, and it's a fantastic lecture that we heard, and it's one of the best that I have seen in my life. Just wanted to be in touch with you and the Bhoomi network. How is it possible, sir?
To get in touch with Bhoomi, I'm sure you can go to Bhoomi website, and Bhoomi website will have, I think Bhoomi website has your number, telephone number is somehow not correct. I tried to ring your number, Sita, this morning, and they said it's not connecting. So please check your number on your website. But I think Bhoomi College website and email, you can connect. And then if you want to connect with me, we have a Schumacher College website. And so you can connect with Schumacher College, and you can look at our website. There, all contacts are there, homepage, and how to contact us. And so all the information is there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, one minute, Satishji, just to close the the day session. Just 2 more minutes, if you don't mind.
That's okay, no problem.
Yeah. So basically, just to say, we are very, very, very thankful that you could come, you could spend so much time with us. Many times, I feel that we should again invite you to India, to Bhoomi for another conference or another meeting with, many of our students and others. But also we feel it's not quite right to make you travel all the way, at the age of 83 or 84. And therefore, this meeting has been really wonderful. And I just want to close with, each one of us would have taken something from what you have said, a different thing perhaps, and some similar things. But one thing that's really stands out for me is like right from a very young age, like you said, at the age of 18, you joined the Buddha movement. If I were to pull out a message from your life, it seems to be you had your beliefs and your convictions, and that was always your starting point. And not what people said, the world said, the world says one thing about success, or world says one thing about, family. We are lucky if the family comes along with us, joins us. But if they don't do also, we can still do many things in life, you know.
Yeah.
So somehow make one's own beliefs and convictions, one's own philosophy of life, the starting point, the you know, the sheet anchor on which our life rests, rather than the world has a million things to say, 1,000 things to say, and it can be very confusing. And I think to start with how strongly I feel about many things. Feelings are very often under recognized, just like nature and humanness, you know. Many people feel strongly about what's happening in the world, but everybody's thinking and, you know, making fun or putting them down, saying this won't be successful. It bothers us. I think the one message to learn from you is to not get bothered about what the world might or might not say. You know, there will always be some people who will be with you. You may not be able to. So to listen to those who, like you, who encourage, who support, who are, you know, who are warm and generous and friendly and accepting the whole world as their, you know, their own. I think it's for us to do that and to anchor in our own beliefs and convictions on that. And that's the message we get from your life itself, apart from your words. And I don't know, Rama, if you want to add something to that. Thank you so much for being the kind of person you are and inspiring so many people. You know?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Rama, I can't hear you. Rama, you're unmute.
No, I don't have anything much to add other than saying thank you for being a guiding light to so many people, including us. And every time listening to you, one just cannot help feeling inspired to act and do what one believes in. So thank you so much for being there for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it has been my pleasure. And congratulations to all the good work you are doing at Bhoomi College and the conferences we are organizing. You are doing wonderful work, all in the service of humanity and the service of planet Earth, because we love the humanity and we love the planet Earth. So that sense of service and sense of love, what you are doing is congratulations. And it has been my pleasure to be this morning with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Satish.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, Rama, do we?
Yeah, we'll close the meeting. Thank you all.
No, but does anybody any closing words to?
We can do that, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can do that because we still have time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sita, this is Mohan.
Yes.
We know that.
I was not aware about this eco-village network that you are trying to work, and I'm very fascinated by that. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that? What are the pillars and how your vision, what your vision is?
Okay. Thanks, Mohan. I remember you from the first conference itself. I mean, I remember you from before that, but you have connected at key times with Bhoomi. So about the eco-village, basically, you know, I think we have always wanted from very long time to have, like, you know, chapters of Bhoomi in different places, rather than, we don't want to expand as one college, you know, let different people do it with all the, you know, the diverse needs of different parts of the country, etc. But we also realize that it's not so very easy, given like some of the things mentioned by different people, the fears of success or how many people will join, whatever, to start something of this kind, which is on an alternative route, for which it is really the road less traveled, you know. But many of the last batch students, especially last batch fellows of Bhoomi, they wanted to go back to their village or their town, or, you know, and do something there. And they were not so fascinated by staying in cities or Bangalore and getting a job and that kind of a thing. A few may do that, but therefore it kind of seemed to make sense that wherever people are, they work there. somebody may be working more with education, somebody may be start more with, maybe working with any local ecosystem or with gardening and food or whatever, and gather groups around them, gather communities around them for what they're doing. And because community is something which is very, very, I mean, community and village, we see it as like, the same kind of idea. And because of lack of community is why a lot of people have done work on this. People are falling back on money and only money and success, as it actually comes out of a lot of insecurity. If you need some money, you need some kind of support systems, and beyond a point, they don't give you the fulfillment that working with the community can give you. Up to a point, yeah, we need all this. So we end up getting caught in a kind of a rat race, and we continue doing that all our lives. So Bhoomi fellows, many of them, they are amazing people. At a very young age itself, they've realized they want to opt out of that kind of way of living, and they believe, and they're acting from belief what to do. Many of them are battling, differences in their homes to do what they're doing. And we feel from Bhoomi Network, it's not that we can do any magic, but at least lay the foundations for a network of such people. So people who start different things in different parts of the country. And Bhoomi fellows actually come from all over the country, from northeast to, somewhere in Uttar Himachal to Kerala to Bangalore, all over the place they are there. So, and a strong community builds in Bangalore when they work here. And it's good to continue that sense of community across the country, but as well as local communities. So it's really to keep our spirits up when we are really working not along with what society claims is success or good life or whatever. We need this community even more, because sometimes our own families or others we know don't respect what we do. So we need to find a community which keeps our spirits up, as well as encourages. We actually learn from each other. Somebody may go to another place and offer workshops or programs or join in for activities and so on. So it is basically a kind of a way of reaching out and spreading and being connected with each other. I'm not saying it's easy, but many have already started doing very interesting things, whether it's terrace gardening or working with handlooms and all sorts of things, all kinds of areas people want to work in. It takes time, but I feel we all need to support each other in work.
Yeah. So I think creating a support infrastructure for that is going to be key for this vision. And yeah, I'm willing to extend myself there.
Oh wow! Welcome. Thank you.
Welcome on.
Sita,
Yeah.
I just wanted to add one thing. I mean, I think my key takeaway today, also listening to Satish ji and his energy at 84, I mean, like, it's so like infectious, and I mean, you're so amazed and inspired. I think one thing is, do we really own the hero within us? We don't. I mean, there's so much of the follower all the time. I think that was my key takeaway, that, I mean, you can wait for the world to change, the government to make whatever, but then can I, start with what I have and where I am? I think that owning the hero was my key takeaway today. Thank you.
Yeah, Preeti. I mean, I think this starting from our beliefs and our conviction and owning the hero, as you're saying, and I think developing a bit of a thick skin when people go, don't support us, but we need to find people who support us, because we need people. We can't do anything alone. But at the same time, to not get too worried when, there are many parts that happens because other people are not so convinced as we may be. So I think that's very, very important when we start things like an eco-village. Satish ji talked about ego. Yes, that's there. But also we need to not get victimized by people saying it will work. It won't work and things like that. So any other question?
Yeah, Sita, may I? Niranjan here. How are you?
Oh, hi. Hi, Niranjan.
I'll first give a background and then I'll pose a kind of a question to you. I've been working on so-called Bank of Nutrition since 2016. I started in Koppal when I took a session for the hearing and speech impaired there, and was not very successful and managed to spread it in 6 villages. And then there was a gap of 4 years. And now during COVID times, I have found the traction has increased because I was using the word malnourishment, and actually it's all about immunity. So in the last 4 months, the Bank of Nutrition has spread to about 34 villages in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. And then I'm requesting people who have farmlands, the so-called urban rich, they have farmlands in rural areas, to give only 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet of the land for creating a nursery of the 5 plants, which I have not mentioned, I repeated for the people's benefit. I'm encouraging the growth of moringa, guava, amla, papaya, and banana, because most of you know that 60% of people in India are malnourished. And here is a low-cost methodology of enhancing their malnutrition needs through these plants. So the learning that I've got is that pre-COVID days, the movement was slow. Suddenly, COVID has kind of given fast traction to this, and people are accepting the idea very quickly. There's a lady whom I met in 2010 from Australia, then she moved to Bangalore, 2016. Now she's moved to Varanasi, and she's working in a ashram where they are helping 400 villages. I've told her to take this idea there. Having given you this background, how does the influence or the radius of influence of Bhoomi is enhanced into the mainstream colleges through your faculty, through your students, or something of that sort? And today with technology, to my mind, things are much easier than the so-called the internet-less days. So that's my key question to you. Why can't you enhance the scale of your influence in the mainstream colleges, etc.?
Well, here and there we try, but we seem to be growing more organically. Like for instance, recently, just last month, there's an agricultural college from Channapatna who are sending 15 of their students for a 3-month internship with Bhoomi. Now, unless they are themselves convinced, and some of the students are convinced that this is good, then some real learning happens, when some immersive learning happens over a 3-month period. We sometimes also have gone to colleges and give a 1-day session, Now, what happens is, it's something like what Satish ji talked about, success and fulfillment. When I have myself gone to a particular college, they give you 500 students sitting there. Half of them are sitting, and many of them at the end, the question they're saying, oh, how can we do that? This is my first generation in my family trying to earn and buying a car and buying a house. All this I cannot believe in. Climate change has come at the wrong time. I can't do anything, So when when the soil is not ready, sowing seeds is not of much use. But I agree with you that we need to go into mainstream, and we are hoping that as more and more Bhoomi students, fellows come in, each one of them will work with their own local colleges where they have some connection, where maybe there's some entry possible, where they will take it further. So while we are ready, the soil also has to be ready. And maybe we are only that many people to kind of knock on the doors of colleges or schools and get them to do something. So we kind of throw open programs every now and then. We try to do programs where people come in and take it forward. But that's where we are, So it's not that we are against the idea, but the wherewithal to do it is not something very easy, both because of our own, lack of number of people to work, as well as the how many colleges are ready to really receive and to push them from an area where they want to. It needs a lot of investment by somebody. For that, we hope the people who join, the students of somebody will take it forward somewhere, which has also happened. I mean, I think from the last batch, I know that at least one student talked about wanting to go back to her school and college and really work there. I think it's a very slow movement.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Madam, namaskar. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. How are you?
I'm Tanvi Sanmuga, ma'am.
Yes, I know. You all came for a Sankalan program.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Madam, I just wanted to say thank you that being inspired by Bhoomi and your personality as well, the initiative what we had started, Govindalaya, that is, we are trying our best. At one point of time, I tried to send someone to Bhoomi also, but somehow, because I'm in an extremely remote place, people are unwilling to go to cities and all. So I failed in sending them. Otherwise, Bhoomi was generous enough to accept my proposal and all. But our attempts are on, and the organization is progressing just to refurbish the memory. It's about 31 acres of land where we have developed some demonstration plots where ICAR is also helping us in developing those things. ICAR is Indian Council for Agriculture Research. In an organic way, we are trying to do. And now people are coming and learning these packages of practice in agriculture there. I thought I'll just update you about it. This is what is happening.
Yeah, wonderful. Great work.
Yes.
But I hope you can be in touch with us in some way.
Certainly, ma'am, certainly.
Yeah,
even in this eco-village, whatever little I have understood, I'll write a mail on this. I'll update you also on about Govindalaya.
Yeah, and you can look up our website also.
Hello.
You can look up the Bhoomi Network website also. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
You can look up the Bhoomi Network website and also contact us directly for that.
Certainly we'll do that, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Anyone else would like to say anything? Just share how you felt or...
Yes, hello, Sridhar. This is Professor Sharma, and I have worked with many engineering colleges, but I haven't found a college like yours. I've been taking the students, I'm making them down to earth, helping them getting, getting back to the roots. So this is wonderful. I read E.F. Schumacher when I was at IIT Roorkee long time back. My teacher from Kerala, he handed over that book to me. And it was a really pleasure to hear Satishji and the role of yourself and your institution in inviting him for such a wonderful lecture in which he, I'll say, thrashed the notion of success and gave an alternate notion, which is in fact very deeply Indian notion. And in fact, we Indians have been uprooted from our own self, our own roots, and you must be doing great work. And I realized that, as a teacher, probably we could not do that much when I was a teacher. Presently, I'm of course a volunteer in Bundelkhand in Uttar Pradesh or adjacent to Jhansi area. But then it would be wonderful to work together in some capacity. S.K. Sharma, Sanjay Sharma.
Thank you so much. Good to hear about what at least your impressions, and do get in touch with us. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Yeah. As I mentioned, ma'am, I have written a concept note on green rural economic zones. I've written a concept note on green rural economic zones, considering the ecopreneurship as the base of that at a block level, taluka level. So I'll get in touch with you because these concepts can go hand in hand. We need to have the balance with the eco-village and this green rural economic zones. So I will be in touch with Bhoomi.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Will do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Connect. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Should. Yeah, should we? Is there anyone else? Santosh Lalwani.
Anyone else, Sita?
No, I don't know. Is there anybody else? Or shall
Questions or wanting to stay what they are left with, and then we can close. Many have typed.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for organizing this. It was really insightful and enriching to us to be part of.
Yeah, we are all in it together, Srishti. Thank to all of us to be together in, in the direction we've chosen for ourselves. Yeah.